Good morning, students. I welcome all my dear students to another and interesting session. In today's session, we'll be learning about the very first chapter in 8th standard science textbook, that is Living World and Classification of Microbes. Now, I am Miss Navida Sheikh and I'll be teaching you all this lesson. I hope that all of you all are really excited to learn as I'm excited to teach you all. So let's get started. Before we start with this chapter, first thing I would like my students to recall certain things that you learned last year related to this topic. Now, in today's topic that we're going to learn, I would like you all to recollect that you all learned last year. Okay, so the very first question here is what is the hierarchy or classification of living organism? Now, you must be thinking that you have learned this, but remember that last year you have learned something related to kingdom, orders, species, getting those words, right? So, this is what the hierarchy of classification means. We have learned that there are so many organisms, there are different types of animals and plants in our world on the surface of this earth that we need to classify them, and if we want to study them in detail, it cannot be done anyhow. It has to have a proper system of classification. Okay, so this was the hierarchy in which the organisms are classified, right? Important thing that you learned last year was who invented the binomial system of nomenclature. Nomenclature, binomial system, these are all words that are coming back to you, right? This was done by none other than Carolus Linnaeus. Now he was a Swedish botanist. Botanist means somebody who learns about plants. Okay, so he is known as the father of taxonomy. He was the person who has contributed a lot in classification and binomial nomenclature of organisms. Okay, now what did he actually do is he studied lots and lots of organisms and he classified them. Okay, and he named them as well. So he has a great contribution in this field and we need to know about him as well. Okay, now today we'll be learning very interesting thing that is related to biodiversity. Now, as the word biodiversity, these comprises of two words. Now, biodiversity and need of classification is very important for us to study. You see around us, you have learned about so many types of organism like unicellular organism, multicellular organism. In that also you have learned about different types of animals and plants as well. Like amoeba, you've learned about snakes, elephants, squirrels, cactus, different types of prokaryotic animals, eukaryotic animals, right? Now, these all organisms are contributing to biodiversity. Okay, that we see in the living things that exist on the earth is called as biodiversity. This is a very simple statement that if you just read, you will come to know what exactly the name biodiversity means. The variety that you see, like in the last previous picture that you all saw was about different types of animals and plants. The variety that you see in the living things that are present on the earth is called as biodiversity, and there is abundance of variety in their shape, size and body parts. Now here all the living organisms on the earth have adapted according to geographic regions, food ingestions, defense, etc. Now you have seen that a yak here, a polar bear. These are animals which are specifically they stay in cold climatic conditions and they have adapted themselves according to that particular region. Okay, the geographical condition demands that they need to have a thick layer of fur in order to protect themselves because they do not have other means like us. If we go to a hilly region where you have snowfall, so you take your warm clothes with you, but here the animals cannot take their warm clothes, right? So they have adapted themselves, their body has adapted themselves in such a way that they have thick layer of fur on their body. Next is we have camel. You have learned about camels also, right? Because they have a very different uh, body structure which helps them to absorb the water from their feet as well, right? The structure of their nose is different, the eyelids are different as compared to other organism, because they have adapted themselves in the to stay in the very harsh conditions of the desert. Same way cactus plant also has adapted. It doesn't have leaves, they have spines, which helps them to reduce the loss of water, okay, and they help to restore the water that is there. Likewise, the lotus plant, if you have seen, they are fully submerged or partially submerged in water. Now, if you keep anything submerged in water, they tend to get rotten. But here, these plants have adapted themselves in such a way that they float also and they stay alive as well. Same way, there are different types of fishes which has adapted themselves in such a way that they can live inside the water and at different levels also. Okay, some fishes are adapted themselves. They have changed. The structure has changed because they had to live very below under the sea level. Some are above in the above region. So it depends and it has modified according to that. Okay, so I hope adaptation is clear to you all. You all have already learned this and it's a quite quick revision for what you have learned. Okay, the next. Now, according to 2011 census, around 87 million species of living organisms are found on the earth, including land and sea. So here in this picture, you can see animals on land and sea animals as well. So there are about 87 million species. I'm talking about species, matlab different types of living organism since 2011. Now it is 2020. We do not know, something new must have added as well. Now, after knowing that there are so many species, there is a need of a proper system where we can study, with the help of that system, we can study the vast number of organisms that are there. So in order to study a vast number, it is essential to divide them in groups. So groups and subgroups were created considering the similarities and differences among the living organism. So here you can see that there are, in the very first line at the top, you can see animal kingdom is there. Okay? Now in animal kingdom, you have all the animals which are there, but all animals cannot be same like each other. So what is done is they are sorted up. Now some which live on the land, then according to that, some which are feeding on, which are herbivores, which are carnivores, depending on that. So they were divided into groups and subgroups considering their similarities and differences among the living organism. Okay, so with this, the system of kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species has come into existence. Now, what is biological classification? Now, biological classification means when we learn about a particular organism, you have to know about the kingdom. If we are learning about animals, it will be kingdom Animalia, then phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species. Okay, so it has to be in this order, and this process of dividing living organism into groups and subgroups is called as biological classification. So again I'll repeat, the process of dividing living organism into groups and subgroups is called biological classification. Now Sir Robert Harding Whittaker. He was an American ecologist. He divided living organism into 5 groups. So now these 5 groups we'll be learning. Okay. Now see, in the previous slide we have seen that it was divided into various groups and subgroups, out of which you have to learn about the group. So for this classification, Whittaker considered following criteria. Means if I want to classify certain organism, I have to follow certain rules. ऐसे ही हम लोग कोई भी चीज किसी में भी नहीं डाल सकते ना. So it is important for us to classify them on a particular criteria. So the very first thing was complexity of cell structure. That is, if whether it is a prokaryotic cell or a eukaryotic cell. Like this. We've learned about both the things in our previous class, so we will not go in detail related to that. Next was complexity of the organism. Now here in prokaryotic and eukaryotic, we are just discussing about the cell structure. The prokaryotic cell is not that complex as compared to the eukaryotic one. Okay, when we come to an organism, a cell, we have finished learning about the cell structure. Now after the cell structure, we go on to the organism. Now organism is multicellular, whether it is multicellular or unicellular. You know, unicellular means comprising of one cell and multicellular means comprising of more than one cell. Okay, so multicellular. Mode of nutrition, whether the plants or the animals or the fungus, they are photosynthetic or they absorb the food from the dead and decaying organism or they kill other organism in order to obtain nutrition. Like animals like leopard or the mushrooms that you see, they are obtaining their nutrition from where? They are obtaining their nutrition from the dead and decaying organism. Likewise, you can see the plant which is obtaining the food with the process of photosynthesis. Okay. Next was the lifestyle. Whether it is a producer, like the plants are producers, animals are consumers, means they take in, whether it is a deer which consumes the plant or whether it is a tiger or a lion or a leopard which consumes the herbivores animal. Next is fungus, whether they are decomposers, means if a dead and decaying body is lying somewhere, they absorb their nutrition from that and they help it to decompose as well. Okay, so all these things are need to be considered while classifying the organism. The next thing was phylogenetic relationship, that is how it is from prokaryotic to eukaryotic, then unicellular to multicellular. Okay, so as you know that we have learned up till here. Next thing that we have is living organisms, how they are classified. As I told you that in according to Whittaker, there were a few criteria in order to classify the living organisms. The first thing, whether they are prokaryotics or eukaryotes, that is the cell structure. Then based on the cell structure, whether they are unicellular organism or multicellular organism. So in prokaryotes, you have only unicellular organisms that falls under that you have. After that, there is kingdom Monera over there. Okay, the very first kingdom is kingdom Monera. Whereas when we go to eukaryotes, the eukaryotes have unicellular organisms also and multicellular as well. The unicellular organisms have protista in it, and when we talk about multicellular, you have three over there, that is kingdom fungi, plantae and animalia. Now we'll be learning about kingdom Monera, protista and fungi in this chapter. Okay, so the very first talking about today is kingdom Monera. Now when I talk about kingdom Monera, it is very simple because the organism is also very simple. Now all types of bacteria and blue-green algae are included in the kingdom Monera. There are a few specific characteristics that you need to know. That is, all the organisms are unicellular. Matlab, whenever you hear the word Monera, it should click your mind that they are unicellular organism. And whenever you hear the name of, there are a few names that I'll be giving you, you have to at once understand that it is kingdom Monera. They may be autotrophic or heterotrophic, means they can prepare their own food or they consume by means of other organisms as well. Okay, so these are prokaryotic cells without distinct nucleus or cell organelles. Here is an image of kingdom Monera. Here this cell, it helps you to understand that they have cell wall, they have plasma membrane, but you do not see a proper nucleus in them. Okay, and it says that these prokaryotic cells without distinct nucleus or cell organelles in them. Okay, so we have a few examples over here for kingdom Monera, like Staphylococcus, E. coli, Salmonella, Streptococcus. These are a few examples that are present in our surrounding related to Kingdom Monera. I hope this much is quite interesting for you all to remember, and please see to it that you all go through this video again if you have any doubts and queries. We'll be meeting in the next period where we will be continuing with the remaining kingdoms that we are about to learn in the next period. So please revise, go through the videos again, and it will be quite helpful to you all. Thank you.